University of Houston football coach Willie Fritz joins us on 365 Sports. And, Coach, I was trying to think about, okay, how do you start this? There's a lot of ways. But magic year 2 for you. I know Georgia Southern was about the same between 1 and 2. Is it year 2 is special because you have time to know what you have and what you need to get done?
Yeah, it's different because you know the lay of the land. Your second year and a couple of different positions I've taken. I got in there late. It's kind of what happened. U of H, we played an extra game at Tulane, and I was kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, getting started with it. But this past year, obviously not, and we kind of knew what we had to work with and what we needed to get, as far as freshmen and out of the portal, and so it just gives you a lot more knowledge on how you can improve your team.
Coach, last week you're on the road against a tough team at Arizona State. You get a lead, and I think the thing that was really impressive to me watching it was your team kind of collectively knew that there was blood in the water and didn't take it for granted and just kind of kept going and going. Where does that come from in your squad, that they were mature enough to know that and not really let Arizona State come up for air that much?
Well, we've got a mature team. It's kind of, just being here 2 years, you'd think that wouldn't be the case, but we added some seniors that have played a lot of football in a lot of different schools. And, and we coach these guys hard. We get after it during the week. We do a lot of competitive things, and I'm blessed with a very good staff. So everybody knows, what we got to do when it's, what cutting time. And I just thought the kids, executed and played with a lot of poise throughout the whole ball game.
What's it been like to coach Connor Wegman? I mean, after going through the approach process and the recruiting and then getting him on campus, but now having, all this action to study and to look back on, what stood out to you about coaching him and just being along with the ride with him?
Well, it's been an awful lot of fun. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but, Connor's dad played for me when I was coaching at Sam Houston State as an assistant back in '91. So there's a little familiarity, between he and I, and Connor. I just heard so many good things about him. Sean Bell, as you all know, Sean was I think he gave Connor his first offer at the Power 4 level, and so they had a very, very good relationship also. And he just wanted to get back to Houston. He wanted to get in a situation where he had an opportunity to kind of play the style of football that's good for him, and which is really dual threat quarterback. He runs it. I've had a bunch of people, they're kind of surprised about how well he runs the ball. But when you went back and watched him in high school and also at his previous school, you saw him do a good job on the ground also. But he's been fun to have. He's an easy guy to coach. He enjoys football, loves football. And that's what you're looking for with all your guys, but especially your quarterback.
I noticed last week when I was watching him when he took off, especially on an extended run, his head doesn't move. You hear about track stars that they just have that, like it's putting a needle through their head all the way to the finish line. He doesn't have all this herky-jerky, this smooth as silk, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask our track coach, Carl Lewis, about that. I'll tell him that we taught Connor to do that, but he's got very good speed. He runs about 21 miles an hour on the GPS, and which is excellent speed. So, if he gets out and gets in a foot race, he can go ahead and gain quite a few yards on you. But yeah, he's got good speed, good movement. He knows how to, a big thing with quarterbacks, you're not wanting to run them 50 times a game. We ran him probably more than we wanted to last week, but that was kind of the path to victory. But you got to be able to find creases and holes. We call it C2 split 2, and widen the gap and get your foot in the ground and take glancing blows instead of head-on tacklers. And he does a good job of that.
Yeah, to get me to 21 miles an hour, you'd have to put me, roll me down a hill.
A car.
Yeah, a car. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I need to get there. You are, and a lot of coaches say they are and try to be. You have always been a culture first guy. in that before you can, change the football, you make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. How do you see that appreciated in players when you take over a program where it's not just about how can you help me make this team better? It's how can we make us better together before we even start talking about we're going to run this kind of offense, this kind of defense, and these are the plays.
Well, I'm really fortunate that I've got a great staff that thinks the same way that I do as far as relationships with the student athletes. I'm around these guys. I see up there 365 sports, right? I'm around these guys almost 365 days a year. I'm around them. I was just in the cafeteria a little while ago, eating with them, and I go in the weight room with them. I'm obviously out there at practice. I try to sit in as many meetings as I can. And, that's how you build relationships, and that's how you establish culture. That's why I got into the business. And, one of the things I'm probably most proud of is every game that we play, I have we went out and played out at Arizona State, and I had 3 or 4 guys that played for me at different places come to the game. Obviously, when we come back home here at Houston, I have a lot more. But, that's what it's all about. If you get into coaching and that's not important to you, you're in the wrong profession, in my opinion.
Coach, how do you deal with new attention? I mean, you guys are obviously getting a lot more talk now with the record that you've been able to establish, but you also know that could all go away very quickly if you don't handle your business the rest of the way. So is that something you address right now? Do you just kind of let it continue to build outside, or just how do you go about handling people starting to pay attention to the Cougars?
All that is great. I addressed it for a moment when we became bowl eligible. Half the country's not going to be bowl eligible. Not very many people were bowl eligible 2 weeks ago. So yeah, proud of that. We're proud of the fact we're ranked now. But I think the secret to success is being consistent with your effort day after day after day after day after day. Some people have a difficult time doing that. I guess I'm simple-minded. That's not difficult for me. Our coaches do a good job of it, and we just want to get better. We're on the climb. We want to be on the ascent. We don't want to be on the descent, and so we're working on that on a daily basis. That's important. We talk about perfection is our goal, but excellence will be tolerated. We want to get better and better and better.
Willie, the offense seems to get better, and yet you've had injuries that you've dealt with on that side of the football. How have you done that?
Well, I think Slade Nagel is doing a fantastic job. I think he's got some great assistants. We've got great assistants here on the offensive side of the ball. These guys are getting, I think, great coaching technique fundamentally. I think they do a great job schematically, seeing what we do. Every week when we staff me, I talk to him, especially this last week. We're 8 games into the season. What are we doing good? Let's accent that. What are we doing bad? Let's get rid of it. Let's do the things that our guys have shown us that they're good at. And I think Slade does a good job of that, each week and figuring it out early, because every team's a little bit different now. Their presentation to you as far as fronts and coverages and blitzes and all those different kind of things. So, you got to understand what you do well, and understand what they do well, stay away from that, and see what they don't do quite so well and try to get after that.
Coach, as you navigate through the Big 12 season, I mean, I know that the cliche is one game at a time. Is it a little easier to do that, though, when you have like such little separation between the best team and the worst team in the league, where you don't have to worry about guys maybe going like, oh man, I can't wait till we play these guys and they're 3 weeks away, when you know that like it's going to be tough every single time you walk out there?
It really is. Obviously those guys don't talk like that around me, because they'd hear about it. But I think this is a really, really, really competitive, balanced league. And I told the guys at the beginning of the year before we started this season, we got to hook it up every single week. I've been in some leagues where maybe we didn't bring our A game and we were able to win. We were just better than the people that we played. But in the Big 12, that's not the case. Everybody's pretty good, and we got to play really, really well in order to have the outcome that we want to have. So I don't think we've got a problem with focusing on the task at hand.
Coach, everybody has the ability to go into the transfer portal and pick guys and add to what they need to add to. But what's the key, do you think, to being successful in the transfer portal and finding the right guys? Or what's been key for you guys to have the guys you went and grabbed playing such vital roles and working out for you?
Well, our whole staff is involved with it. Our personnel, our GM, they all do a great job finding these guys. But that was one of the problems I really kind of had last year was I got in here so late. To be a great recruiter, you got to be a talent evaluator and you got to be an information gatherer. And we just didn't have the time to gather the information. And we want guys that fit our culture. How we do things here is not for everybody. I mean, we're on top of these guys academically, how they act off the field, how we practice, all the different things that we do 24/7. I'm very consistent in that, and so are my coaches. And we got to find the right guys. And we did a really nice job of finding excellent young men who buy into what we're doing. This is before this season I'm talking about. I'm talking about the spring, the summer, preseason camp, all those different things. And it's just, it's just fun working with these guys. It's fun coming to work every day when you get to work with good people.
Coach, everyone, maybe not everybody, knows the story about Kurt Hester, whose birthday would have been yesterday. And I know there's a celebration of his life in November. And the emotions of that can obviously wear a team down because of its life, a loss of life, somebody very important who was absolutely an inspiration. How much of an inspiration was he to Houston football?
A huge part of Houston football. He and I were together at Tulane. He was my first hire here. Some people realize and some people don't how much time the strength coach spends with your team. And you got to have a guy that's, echoing your message, but also is a guy that's a tremendous role model and mentor to our student athletes. And hey, just like I was talking about a little while ago, we had so many people that came in and visited him from other places that he coached at, and over the last, I don't know how many months. He was diagnosed in February, and I think they gave him 4 weeks. And, he just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And he's just a huge part of helping to mold and shape these guys. 18 to 22 years of age is I talk about it all the time. You do a good job between 18 and 22 years of age, academically, off the field, on the field, all those things. You're cooking with grease. You're going to have success. You screw up during that time period. It's sometimes hard to overcome. And Kurt just really preached. He's also a minister, but he really preached a great message to our guys on a daily basis. And, we're missing him.
We had Michael Bishop on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned that you were was it junior high PE or elementary school PE teacher?
I was his elementary. When I got done as a graduate assistant at Sam Houston, I couldn't find a college job, so I got a job as an elementary PE teacher, kindergarten, first, second, third grade at Willis, Willis, Texas, and I coached varsity football, basketball, and Michael was kind of one of my students, and another guy was Derek Lagway.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're the same age, and they're buddies. And anyway, years later, I recruited Michael, and when I was at Blinn, and he sometimes teases me, calls me Mr. Fritz, because that's what all the call me.
Yeah. How much of you, though, was formed in those young years? Like, you may find yourself thinking, like, still, I learned so much in that short time as an elementary PE teacher, even though your job is demonstrably different now.
Well, number one, you never, relationships. We talked about how I just got done talking about Connor a little while ago.
Yeah.
If his dad thought I was a horse's buddy, Connor wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
And, and if Michael would have thought the same thing, he wouldn't have come over and helped change the program over at Blinn Junior College. So, I've enjoyed every place that I've been. I really have. And I still got a lot of good friends from Willis. You know, that when I coached there, I went back and watched them play a few weeks ago, and saw some old friends and some people that were actually still working at the school. Yeah, it's it was a great time, and I really enjoyed it there, and still have a lot of good friends.
One question for me, and thank you as always, Coach, but the Peach Bowl 10 years ago, I saw the note you put up. Somebody put up that Coach Herman's coming back. Greg Ward, who played at John Tyler High School in the NFL, and of course at Houston, known him a long time. What is that? Yeah, exactly right. How much does that help bring back showing the success that was there and can be there?
Well, I talk about it all the time. I've taken over some programs that, maybe hadn't had, much success in their past, but Houston has had a lot of success. Coach Sumlin did a great job when he was here. Coach Herman did a fantastic job, and then you got the guy that everybody still talks about around here, Coach Yeoman.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, his son and his granddaughter came on her trip out to Arizona State, a few days back. So yeah, it's great to have those guys come back. I've gotten to know a bunch of those guys, Greg and Tice. I've gotten to know real well. They've been around all the time and do anything I ask of them, and so yeah, it's great to honor those guys. And they had I actually went to the Peach Bowl this last year, and I saw Arizona State play Texas in the game. I was fortunate enough to win Bobby Dodd Award, and they bring people back. And I told our players, if I must have had 20, 30 people when they met me that were with the Peach Bowl. That's our favorite game, when Houston got after Florida State, in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So it impacted a lot of people, and we're proud to recognize those guys this weekend.
Thank you very much. As always, continued luck and also continued momentum of what you've built, Coach. We appreciate your time whenever we can get it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Willie Fritz, head coach at the University of Houston, in 365 Sports.